Hi folks, recently I've been making Metal Gear lore videos, and today I want to do something that's a little bit different. It's a Metal Gear lore video, but the lore is sort of my own, and I'm going to link it to what I do with my action figures, which is I'm an action figure customizer and commission painter. So what I've done is I've created my own continuation of the Metal Gear Solid timeline, the storyline after Metal Gear Solid 4 and Metal Gear Solid Rising, which is the chronological end of the timeline. So the story takes place around 25 years after the end of Metal Gear Solid Rising, and it's a continuation of the Les Enfants Terribles program. And the way I've done it in my own mind is that the government are not willing to let Big Boss and his legacy go down the drain. They still want to use his incredible soldier DNA, and so they reinvigorate the program, and instead of having clones that are scattered to the wind as they were, and they don't know about each other in some cases, and they have chips on their shoulders, they're very hateful, resentful, they've all got baggage. So instead of having that, the government and the agencies that have reinvigorated the program decide, well, let's have them all together, working as a team. They all know about each other, they all know where they came from, they all know the legacy of their primogenitors, the ones that they came from. So they're slightly more in tune with each other, they're willing to work together, they're good as a team, they're formidable. Like literally you can send in this team of Big Boss clones, this Les Enfants Terribles team, and you can like destabilize countries with just this one team, and you can fight huge battles, and they are just incredible at like hit and run attacks and tactics and missions and stealth missions, infiltration, all that kind of stuff. So I've put together, so far there are 4 people in the team. There's a Liquid character who he's very sort of outgoing, egotistical, inexplicably speaks with an English accent, and is like the attitude and sass of the team. You've got the Solidus sort of analog, and he's fiery, he's quick to sort of anger, but he's also a bit of a genius, tactical, and he takes on sort of an unofficial leadership role within the team, which I thought was appropriate for the Solidus character. You've got an Old Snake analog. There are 2 sort of Solid Snake analogs, because I always saw in the original game that there were 2 elements to Solid Snake. So the Old Snake version, he's grumpy, he's not as enthusiastic, he sort of feels a little bit downtrodden, but he gets on with the job. And so the story behind his character is that he was the first of the new batch of clones, and he was a little bit defective. He did start to suffer from accelerated aging, just as Old Snake did, but they managed to pause it by giving him treatments, but it has left him with like a creaky back, and the more humorous side to Old Snake, which was he had the creaky back, the creaky legs, he would complain about having muscle pains, and he was grumpy and quite sarcastic, and so there's that aspect of the character. And then the other clone is an analog of what Solid Snake was like in his like Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty days, where he's just sort of a balls to the wall Snake Plissken type soldier. He's the man who gets things done, and he's the heart of the team, maybe a little bit resented by a couple of the others, which will sort of lead into a bit of character development and conflict within the team. But yeah, so he's very much a Solid Snake copy. He smokes, he drinks, he's got the sardonic sense of humor and the gruff voice, and so having all of these guys together as a team and expecting them to like work together with all their like the personality traits that they do have, and the knowledge of what their primogenitors had and the beef that they sort of had with each other, I think it really inspired me to make a team of like badass clones. A little bit, I mean, not that I particularly like the Bad Batch in Star Wars, but a little bit like the Bad Batch, where you've got like these different clones with different features, and they work well together as a team, but also there is some sort of friction there. So let me stop rambling now and show you some of the things that I've done with the team. There's only 4 members so far. I am looking to expand. I really want to get a Venom Snake analog in there somewhere, because he's my favorite snake. He's not really even a snake, he's a random medic, but he is definitely my favorite protagonist from the series. So I want to figure out how I could get him in. I don't know. Maybe you could have like his body was recovered from outer heaven, and they did tests on him, and the government found out that, oh, this isn't actually genetically, this isn't Big Boss, this is someone else, and his body was kept like frozen in Langley or something. I don't know. I'll come up with something, and you know, I could see this as like a comic book series or like an anime series, but the key word here is fun. It's not like think of it like it's like a comic. It's an American superhero comic, if you want, or like a G.I. Joe type scenario where it's overblown, it's balls to the wall. And yeah, the key word here is fun. So let's dive in and have a look. So, as previously stated, the team comprises 4 operatives. We've got the Solid, the Old Snake kind of character, the Liquid character, and the Solidus character. Now, I'm still working on names, whether I refer to them as their original code name, or a derivative of their original code name, or just call them something completely different. I haven't decided yet, but for the purposes of this video, we'll just call them Solid, Liquid, Old, and Solidus, just for simplicity's sake. But I am planning on coming up with more creative code names than that. And if you have any ideas, please put them in the comment section. I'm always open to collaboration. So we'll begin with Solid, and I really just wanted to go back to basics with this one and make something that was, it really harkens back to my vision of peak Solid Snake, and that is the Metal Gear Solid version of the character, where he's in his anti-freezing peptide sneaking suit, and he's got the shorter hair, the clean shaven with a little bit of stubble sort of look, like the, you know, not full beard, but 5 o'clock shadow kind of thing, how he appeared in that game. And I really wanted to harken back to that and the attitude that he had, the sarcasm, the kind of willing to do the job, but he begrudges the fact that he's been sent out to do this thing. And that's the real sort of Snake Plissken aspect. Very capable soldier, very good at everything he does. He does have these edges about him. He drinks and smokes, and he can throw shade at people. And I wanted a character that basically the cool guy of the group, the Mr. Cool. He's sort of the one that the others are sort of a little bit resentful of, because he is derived from what they would see as the most successful snake, the one that history remembers fondly. And he fulfills that fundamental action hero role for me. And it was really important for me to get him in there, because I just happen to be, regardless of how cliched it is, a huge fan of that sort of hero archetype. And I'm not going to deny that. And so what we have here with this character, I used a G.I. Joe classified Duke head, because I feel that Duke's head really, he's got that sort of quite a chiseled face, but if you look at the lines on his cheeks, the way that Yoji Shinkawa presents the snakes is that they've got very chiseled facial features, and they have these very deep lines that really give them a lot of edge, a lot of character. They're like a constant sort of scowl, a readiness, a kind of a leonine aesthetic, where they have this like animalistic quality that they're ready to pounce at any time. They're sussing things out. And I really think that Duke head lends itself to Yoji Shinkawa's drawing style and the look of the snakes in general. So I used the Duke head, sculpted a bandana out of green stuff epoxy. It's a 2-part epoxy, and it dries pretty much solid and like really strong plastic. So there's no danger of that cracking or breaking or anything. It basically dries to be the same sort of durability as a G.I. Joe classified stock head. And the body is a G.I. Joe movie, Snake Eyes. Not a fan of that film at all, but I love that Snake Eyes action figure. I love the torso, the padded plated armor with the sort of the little rivets in it. I think that could easily be something that Yoji Shinkawa developed, and you could definitely see him coming up with some concept art involving that suit. So yes, that suit does get a lot of use in my figures, as you will see when we move down the line. The legs were a combination of the first release G.I. Joe classified Snake Eyes, the generic Snake Eyes figure. The legs came from that with some padding, which I believe, don't quote me on this because I'm not a DC or Mezco expert, but I believe the thigh pads came from there were something I got in a figure lot, a fodder lot on eBay, and I think they came from the tactical Batsuit. I think that's what it's called. Don't quote me on that, guys. Not really a expert in Mezco stuff, but I thought they looked really good. And again, it links in with the plated armor look of the suit. The arms are from Snake Eyes. I like the again, they've got that sort of plated, and you see these little rivets in them that Shinkawa puts in a lot of his designs. And to bulk him out a little bit, I gave him Destro's shoulder, so the top part of the arm that connects into the shoulder. So it just looked like he had a little bit more physicality, makes him a little more threatening, not quite as skinny, I guess. And that's him. Destro boots, and yeah, that's him. So I had to get him in the group. He's fundamental when it comes to my experience of Metal Gear, and the purposes of this project is to create a sandbox for me to play in, explore my creative ideas and narrative ideas, have these crazy sort of interactions, and just have all of the Les Enfants Terribles in one place, and be able to do awesome, crazy, fun things with them. So yeah, I had to have this guy, the ultimate version of Solid Snake, in my opinion. And moving on from him nicely, we can go into the old Snake member of the team. And as previously stated, the idea with this version of the character was that he, in this new team, which I had this idea, could it be called Les Enfants Redus, which my French is terrible, guys. I apologize profusely for anyone that had to listen to that. But yeah, so Les Enfants Redus could be a potential name. I'm sure there are better names for the team. And he was the first. He was the first new clone from this new batch of snakes. And being the first, this is where the project really identified bugs and hiccups and problems in the genetic matrix of these super soldiers, basically. And he did start to age, similar to how Solid Snake ages in Metal Gear Solid 4. Obviously, this timeline takes place around 20 to 25 years after the end of Metal Gear Solid Rising. So they were able to catch it early, give him some treatments that paused his accelerated aging, but he has been left with some of the effects of that. So like I mentioned, he does have a creaky back, he has creaky knees, he's not quite as spry and as light on his feet as the other clones, and this does make him suitably grumpy and sarcastic, and he grumbles and moans, but he never gives up. He has that feature that Old Snake had in Guns of the Patriots, where he was just constantly punished throughout that game, very physically, mentally punished, but he kept moving forward, and that's what we love about that character. The Old Snake persona in particular really showed a person who just would not give up, and that's what I want to sort of portray and bring to this aspect of the character, and it was really important for me to have a representation of Solid Snake and a representation of Old Snake, even though they in the originals technically were the same person. I really felt that Old Snake was representing Kojima's. I believe that at that point in time, Kojima was really worn down with the Metal Gear franchise and the way things were going, and he's mentioned in interviews that he did at one point feel trapped by the Metal Gear franchise in general, and I think Old Snake really was him holding a mirror up to himself and showing, look, this is how I feel. I just feel like a knackered old man. So yeah, that's why we have both a Solid and an Old Snake in this lineup. Moving on to the Liquid clone, and the Liquid clone is a really fun one. For this one, again, I used the Duke head that I used on the Solid clone, and that's because young Solid Snake and Liquid Snake, they're the two clones that really have the biggest connection. If you remember back, the clones, the Les Enfants Terribles, are scattered to the wind. They're, in some cases, in the case of Solid Snake, they don't even know about each other. And when Liquid and Solid first come together, they forge a antagonistic relationship that will continue throughout the rest of the saga, in the form of Liquid Ocelot. And whether or not you believe that that was actually Liquid, or it was a spirit, or it was the arm, or it was Nanomachines, Hypnagogia, whatever, we can get into that another day. The fact is that stylistically, their relationship was the most significant between all of the Les Enfants Terribles characters and clones. And so it was important for me that they had the same face. Really important there. I did give him more of a military regulation haircut rather than the long, flowing, lustrous locks there. Again, just to call back to the fact that they've got a very similar hairstyle. Again, you'll see that makes them look very similar, and the he's fully clothed, which Liquid Snake always used to walk around with his top off. Well, in this instance, we're seeing him with his combat gear on. I used a Snake Eyes body. Again, I used those tactical Batsuit thigh pads on Destro legs with Valaverse boots. He has the top half of Destro's arms, movie Snake Eyes lower arms, and the suit is black and it has a splash of yellow. This is quite a deep cut. As some people will know, I'm a fan of Action Force, and my favourite faction in Action Force is the SAS faction. Now, Liquid Snake is known for being in the SAS. He has a British accent. He's got those British roots, and so I wanted the outfit to be black. I wanted them to remind me, at least, of an SAS type uniform. And my favourite fictional version of the SAS is the Action Force version, and so that's why he is dressed like that. And as stated, he's the sort of Loki-esque character. He's sassy. He's definitely the most I'd say villainous, in that Loki kind of way. You know, you never really know where you are with him. But also, it is important that this iteration, in the sort of narrative that I'm hoping to create, they do work together. They all sort of have bits of their personality that harken back to their primogenitors, and they do rub each other the wrong way on occasion, but they are able to work together. It's like brothers, you know, the theme of brothers, in that they are brothers, they are together, they're on each other's side, but occasionally they rub each other up the wrong way. And this takes us on nicely to the leader of the team, which is the Solidus clone. And the Solidus clone, I used a Valaverse body with some sculpted detail, and I wanted the sculpt to be reminiscent of Yoji Shinkawa's work on other like padded sneaking suits. Not quite as, like, it doesn't make the same statement as that Solidus snake armor with the massive shoulder pads and the tentacles, because I feel like that is really a standalone villain type look. You know, almost like you know, you got the very obvious, which is the Spider-Man villain type look, but he does look like a supervillain when he's in that original armor. And I wanted this to be more sort of sneaking suit, but it is padded out. He's slightly bulkier than the others. He has his swords, his bladed weapons, which Solidus was always very proficient with, and he has the P90 that Solidus had, and that was a very iconic weapon to him. And I always think of Ghost in the Shell when I see that gun. And I've given him a solid eye, because at the moment, at this point in the timeline that I've created, none of them have any sort of real disfiguring injuries like having their eyes taken out. I'm sure there is scope for that kind of, you know, that kind of thing going forward, because I want to create versions of these characters that will see them at different points in time, and I want to like pad out, and eventually you've seen that I do lore videos on the Metal Gear canon. I'd quite like to do lore videos on lore that I create, and this this project and creating this sandbox will allow me to play with that. So he has got a solid eye, but he does have both eyes. He's perfectly fine, and he does have some of the traits of Solidus Snake. He has that sort of intensity, that quick to anger. You know, when you fight Solidus Snake in that final battle, there's an anger there with his sword strikes, and when he zips across the rooftop and the fire goes behind him, you really get that furious sense that this is a guy that could really flip out. One of the best things in that game is when he just like rages on those Metal Gear rays and destroys them all with his P90 and his tentacles. Yes, I said tentacles. Anyway, so that's the team, and this is the beginnings of my sandbox. I've set it 25 years in the future, so it takes me away from all of the lore, and it's after Rising, which will allow us to do things that don't interfere with the narrative if they were to ever revisit that era in time. I think it's a good place to be. It's far enough away that it means I can do pretty much whatever I want and not feel too married to any kind of narrative or get bogged down by anything that already exists. And just as a little Easter egg, I have a venom snake custom here, which isn't part of the lineup, but it as a little sort of Easter egg and a taster. I want to get in a covert member of the team. Now, this is a member of the team that the others don't know about. And for this, I was obviously greatly inspired by the way Venom Snake is treated as a character, but also the character of Shooter in G.I. Joe. There was an unknown G.I. Joe that none of the other Joes knew of, and it was a sniper character that did Black Ops and basically was a cleanup agent for the team. The team would go in, they would do their business and get things done, but in the background there was someone watching over them, cleaning up after them, doing assassinations and Black Ops, wet works, etc. And that's what I want this Venom Snake character to be. He's in the background, and obviously we know that Venom Snake doesn't share the same genetic makeup as the others because he's a completely separate entity. He's a completely random medic, but he's just incredibly skilled. He's as good as Big Boss was. And so what could that mean? What could that how could a character like that interact with this team? And it really brings back into the story the fact that we've said that these characters, they know about each other now. Things are much more transparent. They work together. They've been told the history of their primogenitors, and they will have talked about that with each other, but they don't know the history of Venom Snake. Nobody knows the history of Venom Snake or that he even existed, and it really goes back to that duplicitous nature of Metal Gear, people not being told the full story, and it really allows me to bring that fun into my little pocket of this universe that I'm really excited about exploring more of. So that's it, guys. That's the project as it stands now. It's just for me. It's just for my own enjoyment. But I thought, there'll be some people out there that may get a kick out of it, and maybe you've got ideas, and I'd love to hear them. I'm always up for just a little bit of fun and creativity when it comes to this franchise. I love this franchise so much, and so I'm clamoring for things to do, and until we get that remake, that Metal Gear Delta, I can't wait. I'm counting the days for that. So I really I really find that things like this, doing these creative kind of projects, really keep me engaged in the world of Metal Gear while we're Metal Gear is having kind of a renaissance at the moment, but we are obviously having to wait a while for these things to come out. So anyway, thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoy this. I hope it maybe inspires people, and I'll be coming out with more of these, and I'll hopefully be doing my own lore videos. Again, just for fun, because Metal Gear is fun, it's wacky, and that's where my heart is. So yes, we will be doing more, and thank you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps me out, and it makes it all worthwhile. Okay guys, thank you. I will see you in the next one.